Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from The Right Way. Got a new article here about a trash person that went around with a sawn-off shotgun stealing things from people, and the woke liberal judges who cannot bring themselves to enforce a proper sentence on these particular people. So this is in New Zealand. If you're not from New Zealand, maybe you have the same types of problems in your own judiciary wherever you are. So keep listening if you like, and have a see what this person actually did, and why the judges are too lenient on these people. So a man drove around two Bay of Plenty towns threatening people up with a sawn-off shotgun to take their shoes, watches and phones. Has been jailed for 14 years after clocking up his third strike offence. So just to let you know before we carry on, apparently the shotgun was not loaded. It was never loaded at any of the times when he did these robberies, but the people that he robbed didn't know that it was unloaded. To them it was basically loaded, and he could have killed them at any point in time. So just have a think about what would happen if you had a sawn-off shotgun pointed at you or against your head or something. So New Zealand has a 3 strikes law. So basically the law is when you hit your third strike, for a third strike offence. So if it's something really minor, it doesn't count as a strike. It has to be something quite major to count as a strike. And when you get your third one, the judge must give you the maximum possible sentence. But when the law was drafted, our weak politicians put in a rule, which was that if the judges felt that the sentence would be manifestly unjust, they could reduce the third strike sentence, which is just ridiculous. I mean, if they had 2 strikes, then surely, they know they're on their third strike. They should not do anything that would get them a third strike, right? But of course, these people are idiots, and they know that nothing will actually happen to them too much. They go to jail for a while, but then, get free food, get to work out, get to watch TV and so on, not have to worry about anything. So they're probably quite happy going to New Zealand's very soft jails. So this is the dickhead here. Zenyatta Thompson, 23, picked up a mate in Kawerau, it's a small town in New Zealand, at about 3 a.m. on October 15, 2019, telling him he wanted to complete some missions. So missions is probably the gangster talk for doing some robberies. The pair and a third mate drove around town for a while. Thompson produced a sawn-off shotgun, held it to his mate's head, and told him to take his gear off. The mate handed Thompson his Nike Air Max shoes, a gold watch and a jacket. Probably all of these things will have been gotten through ill means. Thompson dropped him off, telling them that if he snitched, he would find him. So he basically stole off his actual mate as well. Just goes to show you what kind of trash human being this person is. The following evening, Thompson and 2 juveniles approached a parked car in Kawerau. Thompson pointed the sawn-off shotgun at the car's 2 occupants, then took control of the car and drove it around town with the occupants still in the car. They must have been shitting themselves, because I know I would be shitting myself if I've got a crazy F-wit, sorry, didn't mean to swear. If I've got a crazy F-wit going around with a sawn-off shotgun. He pointed the gun at the head of one of the occupants and took from them their baseball caps and a jacket. He then dropped them off and drove to Whakatane, which is another town further away, with the 2 juvenile people. Just incredible, what this idiot got into. In Whakatane, he pulled up to a man walking along the street, pointed the gun at him, told him to unlock his iPhone and hand it over. The man did as he was asked, obviously because he's thinking he's going to die otherwise. Thompson then rammed his car into another car with 2 occupants in it, causing the car to spin and stop. He then approached the car with the gun, demanded that one of the occupants hand over his watch, which he did. So yes, he rammed another car while it was travelling. He then pulled the other occupant out of the car, assaulted him with punches and kicks to his body, then forcibly took his watch, a chain and a baseball cap. Thompson then drove on the wrong side of the road and intentionally ran into the side of another car travelling in the same. So this guy is completely out of his freaking mind, right? Either he's on drugs or he's a complete trash of a human being, which he probably is anyway, even if he was on drugs. Shortly after this, police tried to stop Thompson by activating their sirens and lights. He responded by switching off his headlights and speeding away. He was stopped by police laying spikes across the road. Thompson pleaded guilty to 6 charges of aggravated robbery, 2 charges of dangerous driving, 1 charge of failing to stop, 1 charge of being in unlawful possession of a firearm. Because he had 2 strikes for previous offending, so he already had 2 major strikes against him, right? These are not things like just doing a simple thing of stealing someone's money or something, right? You'd have to involve firearms or assaults or something like that to actually get a strike warning. Lang told Thompson the 3rd strike meant there was no option but to sentence him for the maximum sentence, which in this case was 14 years in jail for aggravated robbery. Now there's many charges here, right? So again, our weak judiciary in New Zealand is that all of those ones are served concurrently. So if you got like 3 lots of 14 years, he only does 14 years. He doesn't do them concurrently, 14 years, then another 14 years, then another 14 years, which would make sense, because then we'd keep this trash of a human being out of the community and keep the community safe. No, they're all done concurrently, so they're all done at the same time. So basically for them, once they've done one offence, it encourages them to do more offences because they're going to get them all sentenced concurrently. So it doesn't matter if they do 1 offence or 100 offences of the same type. It's not going to make any difference to them. Just goes to show you how weak our judiciary system is in New Zealand. The 3 strikes legislation has a provision that in exceptional circumstances where it will be manifestly unjust to do so, a judge can decline an order that the offender serve the full sentence without parole. So sentence him for 14 years, but Justice Lang said Thompson's offending was serious and had considerable effects on his victims, but he did not agree with the Crown's submission that it was premeditated. Well, he managed to find a gun, he stole a car, he used the same car for doing other assaults and convictions. That has to be premeditated, right? I mean, you're not going to do it at the spur of the moment at the time of doing it. He obviously went around looking for people to rob, and he robbed them. So, and I just totally disagree with this weak judge. The offending was opportunistic, and the judge noted that the firearm had not been loaded. That shouldn't take any account that it's not been loaded, right? It shouldn't take any account at all, because everyone else who he would robbed would have thought it was loaded. What a bunch of rubbish from this judge. This would have been little comfort to the victims. Thompson had 4 previous convictions for aggravated robbery and had been sentenced to jail in 2015, 2016, and 2018. Right? So it's not like he just did this out of a whim. He's done it before, right? So he's obviously deserves his 3rd strike without parole, but the weak judge just can't do this. But here we go. Here's the victimhood mentality. A psychiatrist report pointed to a history of family violence and physical abuse. Thompson left school at 15 without any qualifications and had never had a job. He had no connection with his iwi. So iwi is like his Maori cultural background, if you're not from New Zealand. And no knowledge of anything related to his cultural background. Oh, where's that little violin on my shoulder? He began using cannabis at 13, methamphetamine at 16 or 17, and had been a patch member of the Killer Bees and Tribesman gangs. So all of this thing in New Zealand about decriminalising cannabis and so on, this is what young people start off with. They start off with cannabis, and they move on to the hard drugs, right? The judge noted Thompson had 3 young children, but had little to do with them or their mother. Good. I'm glad that he doesn't have anything to do with the kids or the mother. Maybe they'll have a chance to actually make something of their lives. Justice Lang agrees with the psychiatrist's view that Thompson was likely to have a high risk of reoffending in the future. So yes, he believed that this guy's going to reoffend in the future, but he said a sentence of 14 years without parole would amount to a crushing sentence for a person of your age. What are you talking about, you idiot judge? He's going to do it again when he gets out. He's proven it before. Put him away for 14 years without parole so that the rest of the community is at least safe for 14 years. Right, so he found it would manifestly unjust to require Thompson to serve the sentence without parole. He sentenced him to 14 years jail and noted he will be eligible for parole after serving just 4 years and 8 months. Think about that, right? Just 4 years and 8 months he could be eligible for parole. All he has to do is basically be a good boy in jail, say the right things at the parole board hearing, maybe attend a few classes or something, and then he can be out. And then he doesn't have to do, once he's out, He probably has to go to parole meetings and stuff like that, but you can fake all that stuff as well, right? This is just ridiculous. Just goes to show you how weak the judicial system is in New Zealand. People keep saying that being strict and severe on criminals and giving them severe sentences has never worked. Well, the reason why it's never worked is because we've never ever had any judiciary that has been able to give severe sentences to people, right? It's always been very limp-wristed in New Zealand, and it's never worked, this limp-wristed approach. I don't care if people don't get rehabilitated, at least they're locked away for the period of their sentence and they're not doing damage to anyone else. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think this trash person deserves the carrot of getting parole, or do you think he should just sit and stew in jail for 14 years and the rest of the community can be safe knowing that he's in jail? Would really love to hear your comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumbs down. If you like my content, then please subscribe. It just helps my content to be noticed by the YouTube algorithm. And hopefully I will catch you in the next video.